So let's start with the demo now. Okay.
Okay.
So hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see the one which says IIB administration.
All right. So okay, see this diagram. So this diagram is a distributed setup in the MQ. So the thing is, with the help of MQ, as we just discussed, the sending application and there is a receiving application. If these two applications wants to communicate each other, then MQ will come into picture. What sender application will do is, so this is all is MQ setup. What MQ will do is, MQ will put a message, the sending application will put a message in MQ that will be transported and that will be reached to the receiving application. In between, we will do the MQ setup. That's what MQ will do. MQ will do a point-to-point transportation between source application and the destination application. That's what MQ is. Now, let's see what is the necessity of IIB. Why when we have MQ? Because with the help of MQ, we can able to successfully transport the messages from one application to another application. Now the question is why we do need to have another technology called IBM integration bus. I will tell you now. Although MQ has the capability of transporting the messages from source application to destination application, there is a limitation in it. The limitation is, for example, if a sender application is designed in such a way that it can generate and it can understand only HTML type of messages. Because let's assume that is the business requirement of sender application. So it can generate, it can understand only HTML format messages. Now come to the receiving application. The receiving application, it can understand only PDF formatted messages. It can't understand the remaining formatted messages. Just assume that is the business requirement of the receiving application. Now the sending application via MQ, so it has a HTML message, and via MQ that HTML message is transported from source application to receiving application. Now this receiving application has received this HTML messages. Now that receiving application has to process the HTML message, right? Then only the business requirement will be fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
So now
so,
the problem. Yeah, go ahead.
So you say we have queue manager 1 and the queue manager 2.
Right.
So on queue manager 1, whenever we send a message, it should be always HTML.
Right.
In HTML format.
That's right. I'm not saying that queue manager doesn't decide the format. The format is decided by the application because it's their message. So what MQ will do is whatever the message comes, that will blindly sense. That's the purpose of MQ. MQ is just like a courier service between the applications.
Oh, so whatever message come to the queue manager 1, whether it is PDF or HTML or some XML or JavaScript, whatever it is, just it accepts it and send it.
Yes, exactly. MQ can accept what type of message it is. It doesn't take care of the types of message. Okay, so the message format is decided by the application. So a sender application has generated a HTML message because now it is sending the HTML message from queue manager 1 to queue manager 2. Now the receiving application has received the HTML message, but the problem is, what is the business of receiving application? It can generate and it can process only PDF related messages, but it has received HTML message. So can receiving application process that HTML message? Definitely not, because the receiving application designed in such a way that it can understand it and can process only PDF related message, right? Although your MQ has successfully transported the messages, but of no use because the format is not happening in MQ. The message conversion is not happening from one form to another form.
Okay, so this is where IIB come to picture to transform the message into what is required.
Exactly. Now IIB come into picture. For example, on top of this MQ, if we have installed a software called IIB, and if IIB developer designed a logic that whatever the message receives in queues of queue manager to, that message has to convert, that message has to transform from HTML format to PDF format. Now that PDF format will be processed by the receiving application. That's where message broker, that's where IBM integration bus come into picture. Okay, so the first advantage of IIB is used to transform the messages from one form to another. Clear this point?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, the second advantage of IIB is it is used to route the message from one queue to another queue. For example, see this diagram. This is the distribution setup in MQ. So in MQ, the message came to the queue manager one, which is a sending queue manager. That is transported to queue manager two, which is a receiving queue manager. And the message will first land into the receiving queue of queue manager two, right? Where the receiving application is connected and it will process the message. But now the problem is in MQ, if message comes to one queue, that will be lies in one queue only. There is no mechanism in MQ that it can be transported, it can be routed to another queue. For example, if the receiving application is connected to another queue, but the message came from MQ to this queue. Now there is a mystery that the message need to be routed from this queue to this queue, then only the receiving application can process it. So this facility is not there in MQ. When we have IIB installed in this MQ, then we can write down the logic. Whatever the message comes to this queue, that will be redirected to this queue so that your application can process the message. That is what the routing is. Okay. So with the help of IIB, we can route the messages from one queue to another queue. So clear with the second point. Any questions?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay. The final advantage of IIB is IIB have the capability of storing the message in the database also. In MQ doesn't have the flexibility that it can connect to the database, it can store the message, it can store a copy of message into the database. There is no such kind of facility in MQ. But in IIB, we have that facility. We can create our own database. We can connect our message broker to that particular database. And whenever one copy processed by the application, another copy we can store in the database so that we can track it at anywhere in the future down the time when we need. So that is another advantage of IIB. So let me recap the need of IIB again. The first need is IIB can transform the message from one form to another form. The second advantage is IIB is used to route the message from one queue to another queue. The third advantage is IIB is used to store the message into the database. So these three cannot be achieved in MQ. But when we have another software called another technology called IIB, we can achieve it. So now understand the necessity of IIB on top of MQ.
Yeah, but I have question. So you're telling me the MQ cannot store message or whatever
No, MQ can store the messages.
to database?
But
Can it store to the
no,
database?
yes, MQ can store the messages, but it cannot connect to the database.
It's not connected to what?
Database.
Oh,
MQ
it
can
can
store the message,
it
but
can
it cannot
store
connect to the
but
database.
cannot fetch the like data from the database. Is that
Yes,
what you're trying
exactly.
to say? Is that what you're trying to say? It is like one way.
Yes, exactly. It's like one way. Once the
Where
message is gone from MQ, that's it. It is gone.
whereas IIB is two way, it can store and it can fetch at the same time.
That's right. whenever message comes to the IIB can have a copy in the database, and then another copy can be processed by the application. So that in the future, if you want to track up the message, we have the database records. So from the database, you can track your messages. Fine, clear with the advantages now?
I'm not clear with what you are trying to say about the
On
sub.
which point you are not clear?
I mean, the third point. Are you saying the IIB gonna put a copy into database and maintain a copy on IIB itself, or you are trying to say it can store and anytime it requires, it can fetch from the database again? Which one you trying to say?
No, message cannot be fetched from the database. Only the track we can do. Okay, this message came this time, this message came from this queue, and this can processed by this time. That information will be there. The message won't be there. Only the record related to the message will be stored in the database.
Okay.
Understand?
Yeah, yeah,
Clear or not?
yeah. I get it.
Okay. Now let's see now the technology on the flow. I mean, what is the technology we are going to use in IIB? So the first we are going to know about a broker. A broker is a main and essential thing in IIB. So a broker is a combination of execution groups. What is an execution group? We are going to discuss in the same slide. But a broker basically contains the execution groups. So below are three main broker process. If any broker is there in IIB, every broker in IIB having three processes. These three are very main process of IIB. If one process is down, it means that the broker is down. So out of these three processes has to up and running. Then only the broker is up and running. If we notice that one process is down, it means the broker is down. So the process are BIP broker, BIP service, and BIP HTTP listener. So whenever we created a and when we started a broker, when how can we judge that the broker is up and running? We are going to get the BIP process of that particular broker. When that broker is displaying all these the process are up and running, then only the broker is up and running. If even one process is down, it means that the broker is down. Now let's deal with what is an execution group. So broker contains the execution groups. So an execution group acts like a JVM, Java Virtual Machine, for execution of the code. So do you know what is a JVM in Java?
Yes, I think for was it is a
Okay.
kind of server.
Uh, no, it's not a server.
I think JVM is stands for Java Virtual Machine, and where we fetch the logs and
Okay, so let me explain. So in Java, we have a concept called Java Virtual Machine. So for example, any Java developer, he has written the code in Java. Now, once the code is developed, he has to run his code. He has to test his code, right?
yes,
Now, when he wants to run Java code, he needs to have some place Java. Then in that space, in that place, the Java code can be executed. That place is called JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So Java Virtual Machine is a place where the Java code can be run and executed and tested. Okay. In the same way, in message broker, Execution group is a place where your flow can be executed. I mean, whatever the flow which is deployed by IIB admin, that flow can be executed in the execution group. So execution group is a place where your flow can be deployed and where your flow can be executed. That is what execution group in message broker. Understand?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the broker, right? So this broker is the combination of execution group. A broker can contains number of execution groups. There is no limit to that. You can define how many execution groups you want in a broker, and once the execution group is created, you can deploy your message flows. So execution groups contains the combination of message flows, where these message flows are the actual code, and in execution groups only these message flows can be executed because execution group is going to act like a JVM. So let's see now what is a message flow. A message flow contains the business logic and the actual code developed by the developer, how the message has to be transformed. Now this message flow is the actual code developed by the developer. So the IIB developer, he writes the business code and he develops the message flow, and that flow will be given to the IIB admin. Now it's IIB admin responsibility. We have to deploy that message flow in the execution group. So this message flow contains the actual business logic. Whenever message comes to this message flow, whatever the code written in this message flow, according to that code, that message will be transformed, or it will be routed, or it will be stored to the database. I mean, whatever the logic you mentioned in your message flow, that is again completely depends on IIB developer, not on IIB admin. IIB admin never does any development part. Only IIB developer will do the development part. IIB admin will do the admin part. So IIB developer, he develops the message flow by writing the business logic and give that message flow to the IIB admin. Now IIB admin will deploy that message flow in the execution group. That is what the message flow is. Clear? Any questions?
Yeah, except for the under broker. Broker can contain a combination of execution groups. Below are the three main broker processes. So BIP broker, BIP service, BIP HTTP reset. Where we see these things, are they on the node or?
No, in the server itself. So when we create a broker, we need to start the broker, right? Like
Yeah.
when we create a queue manager, we will start the queue manager. When we start the queue manager, a queue manager will be having a lot of processes, right?
Yeah.
In the same way, when we create a broker, when we start the broker will have these three processes. And the technical commands, do not concentrate on the technical commands. Right now, just understand the terminology. Just understand about the theoretical part. Technical things, technical commands, yes, I'm going to provide you in the IIB command line interface session.
Okay, what is
Okay.
BIP for?
Sorry?
What this BIP stands for?
BIP, there is no abbreviation for this, there is no acronym for that. It is just like BIP, that's it.
Okay, okay, good.
It's a single word, there is no abbreviation for this.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, for message flow, here is my thing. So IIB developer will design a bar file and give to IIB admin to deploy it. So IIB admin has to deploy the bar file in the execution group. Once the deployment is success, the message flow is auto created. So that is what the picture, that is what IIB admin is going to do. So
Please
IIB
give me a
developer,
second. Please give me a
yeah,
second.
sure.
to have
This
someone.
conference will now be recorded.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the thing is, IIB developer designs a bar file. So what is this bar file? I will tell you. Bar file stands for broker archive file, where the actual business code is written by the developer. Okay. So once code is written, developer design a bar file, and this bar file given to IIB admin. Now IIB admin will deploy the bar file in the execution group so that the message flow is auto created. That's how the message flow is going to be created. Message flow creation means IIB admin is going to deploy a bar file in the execution group. Fine, clear with the message flow. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
All right. Now let's see now the flow. In IIB, what is the flow? I mean, from top to bottom. So the first major thing is broker. We already discussed what is a broker. So this broker is also called integration node in the IIB. So before IIB, the name was message broker. So in message broker, we call the thing as a broker, but in a IIB, we call it as an integration node. Okay, but in the industry, people are habituated with the broker only. So let's call it as a broker only. Now inside the broker, there will be execution group. What is the execution group? We have already seen in the previous slide. This execution group is also called as a data flow engine. So if we call it as a data flow engine, if we call it as an execution group, both are same. Now
So
inside
which one is the latest? Broker is the latest?
No, broker is the older one.
Oh, okay. So
Integration node, data flow engine are the latest names.
Gotcha.
But in the industry, people are still call it as a broker. People are still call it as an execution group only because people are habituated with the names. So inside the execution group, there will be the application or service. So application, forget about the application right now because application concept is not there in the message broker. It has just introduced in the IIB concept. So forget our application. You will be able to understand when we go to the technical dive because to explain about the application in the IIB, that will become very huge for you to understand right now. We'll discuss about it later. And inside the execution group, we will be having flow. So the basic flow is, first of all, we will be having a broker. Inside the broker, we will be having the execution group. Inside the execution group, we will be having the message flows. That is what the flow is. Clear?
Yeah, but is the message flow by itself part of the broker, or the message flow is like something developed by the developers and deployed to the execution group?
That's right. It is not part of broker. It is developed by the developer and it is
And the
deployed by
message flow itself
IBM.
is part of application, yeah.
Sorry?
The message flow by itself is part of application.
Exactly. It's a part of application. So in message broker, how it is in the execution group, there will be direct message flows. But in IIB, IBM introduced a small functionality called application inside the execution group, where this application is a combination of message flows. You can name your application, and inside the application, you can deploy your message flow so that you are segregated in a more effective manner. That's it. So application is not a technical term basically. It's like we are segregating in a more customized way. That's what the application is. Okay.
So under one application, you can have any number of message flows.
That's right. Under one application, we can have n number of message flows. Yeah, yes, you're right. Under one application, we can have number of message flows related to that particular application. Fine, clear the flow now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about the integration toolkit. So integration toolkit is a development toolkit where IIB developer design the flows as per the business logic and creates the bar file. So integration toolkit is mainly used by the developers where they can write down their code, they can develop their business logic, and they create the bar files. Once the bar files are created in the toolkit by the developer will share that bar file to the IIB admin so that IIB admin can deploy them. So IIB admin can also do the remote administration using the toolkit. It means that when we have the access for the toolkit in the industry, in the company where we are working, we can also do the remote administration of the brokers and the message flows. I mean, instead of logging to every time to the server to notice the health statuses, you just connect to the broker via toolkit and you can monitor them. So it is just like a graphical user interface facility. That is what the toolkit is. Basically, developer will be having more work with the toolkit. IIB admin will be having a very lesser usage with the toolkit. But in this training, I am going to share you the integration toolkit. We are going to develop a small business flow, a small message flow, and we are going to deploy it, and we are going to see how that is going to impact the message flow. Okay, we are going to see that in the training, so
Okay.
that you will get a good understanding how developer use the toolkits. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's see what are the responsibilities of IIB admin. So IIB admin has to do IIB installations, upgradations, and uninstallations, and the administrative activities like the creation of brokers, deletion, start and stop, also the execution groups creation and their deletion, also the message plus deployments and undeployments of message flows. And yeah, deployment of bar files, DSN creation and modification. So this DSN comes in the database concept. So IIB can connect to a database with the help of DSN. So in the DSN concept that we are going to see how to create a DSN and how to modify DSN properties. So DSN stands for data source naming. And then performance tuning by changing brokers and execution group properties. So every broker, every execution group is having a lot of properties. So we can change the properties so that the performance can be shown there. So how to see the properties? Yes, we're going to see that in the IIB command line interface session. And monitoring the syslogs during and after the deployments. So operating system log monitoring is a very, very important task of an IIB admin. Whenever we deploy something, how can we understand, yes, the deployment is success, or how can we understand, no, the deployment is not success, it's a failure. So we can notice that with the help of syslogs. Whenever we deploy a bar file, syslog of the operating system having the record of that, yes, it has been deployed successfully, or else it will throw some error. Due to this reason, the deployment is not successful. So how to monitor? Yes, we are going to see that in the next session. And analyzing the core dumps and heap dumps. As you are already in the industry, I am assuming that you already know what is a core dump and heap dump, right? Do you aware what are
I'm not really that much aware of it.
Okay, so very simple. Core dump means if there is a process in the operating system unexpectedly terminated or brutally killed, then a core dump will be generated in the server. I mean, if a process got killed abnormally, then core dump will be generated. Heap dump means if there is a memory issue of any application in the server, then heap dump will be generated. So these core dumps and heap dumps of IIB will
Hold
be
on.
generated quite frequent.
You said core dumpers is when application is stopped improperly.
Yes, exactly. When application stopped improperly, then core dump will be generated. Fine.
Okay.
Okay. So heap dump means when there are memory issues, whenever the system is running out of memory, out of resources, then heap dump will be generated. So these things also we are going to see at what case code dump is generated, at what case heap dump is generated, and how to analyze the code dumps and heap dumps. We are going to see this right now. Now analyzing the swap memory. Swap memory means a RAM memory. So how to analyze the RAM memory? We are going to see that. So that's what with the responsibilities of IIB admin. Now code dumps and heap dumps. Yeah, let's see now. So if code dump means if any process terminated abnormally or killed brutally, then associated code dump will be generated and entry will be recorded in the syslog. So whenever a code dump is generated, its associated entry will be there in the syslog by mentioning, hey, code dump has been generated in this path. So generally code dump files will be having really hell lot of size. The size will be really huge. Okay, so that's why it's always keep an eye on the code dumps and heap dumps. And if a broker level, sometimes broker will shut down abnormally due to various issues. Then associated code will be generated in where MQSI path. So where MQSI is a broker working path that we are going to see in the from the future sessions. So but the code is generated in where MQSI path whenever broker process shutdowns abnormally. Append file entry will be required in the syslog. Append file associated with the core dump. Whenever core dump is generated, its append file will be generated. Whenever we see an append file entry in the syslog, it means that core dump is generated in where NQSI path. Clear? Any questions? See, I know that would be very complex to understand, but I mean the terms are new for you. That's why it is taking some time for you to digest. I totally understand it, but understand one thing: codum means if any process killed abnormally, then codum will be generated, and then abend file entry will be there in the syslog. Abend file means it's just a codum entry. That's it.
No, the core dump and the heap dump is I think that I'm fine with that because core dump is like core dump is created always when something abruptly happen in the process. So that's how we get the core dump. Heap dump is actually when the thing is like a spike of CPU happens.
Exactly.
But this append file, I never heard of it. And, can you explain it?
See, append file is something. So tell me one thing. Whenever code dump is generated, how can we know code dump is generated?
What created you say?
Okay. Whenever a code dump is generated, how can we know code dump
Oh,
is generated?
you said port conflict.
Sorry?
You said port conflict.
No, not code complete. I am saying, for example, right now a process has been killed abnormally and code dump is generated. Okay. Now, how do we understand core dump is generated? By referring to append file, we can understand core dump is generated. Append file is just an index to core dump. Okay, in the syslog, whenever we see append file entry, appends entry, this append file having core dump creation and what is the reason why core dump is generated, those entries will be there in the append file.
Okay.
That's what the append file is. So right now, do not concentrate on the append file much because this is just a demo session. Yeah.
So is it append file itself is in the syslog or it is like kind of syslog itself?
No, it's not a syslog. It is just an entry in the syslog. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. So right now, do not about to understand about append file because that may lead to a confusion. This is just an introduction session. We have not started our course yet. When we started the course, yes, you will be getting the things internal. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Now heap dump. So heap dump is a memory issue If any process is running out of memory, then associated heap dump will be generated, and we can analyze the heap dump using heap analyzer software. IBM has provided a software called heap analyzer. With the help of heap analyzer, we can analyze our heap dump file. When we upload our heap dump file into heap analyzer, then heap analyzer will analyze and it will show you the information. Due to this issue, heap dump is generated so that we can start our troubleshooting. That is what heap dump is. So co-dumps and heap dumps are very, very bigger in size. We need to do housekeeping of them on a regular basis. That's the important thing. The thing is in VAR-MQSI, where the broker file system, broker working file system, co-dumps and heap dumps are generated, definitely they will be generated with a huge size. One file can have even 5 GB, 10 GB also. I have seen situations in the companies where I was working. So if you don't clean up, VAR-MQSI will come to 100% full and your broker may go down, which will again cause to another security issues. So it's an important thing whenever code is generated, clear that, delete that, not needed.
So,
Okay,
so is it like keep reproducing the same log now and then? Is that how it fills the space, or how this code dump is like gonna
no,
highlight the stuff the way you say?
Okay, so let me answer. So code dump is generated whenever a broker process abnormally terminated. If the broker process not terminated abnormally, then we don't have the question of code dumps. Code dumps won't be generated because your broker is up and running fine since long. There is no abnormal termination of your broker, then code dump is not going to be generated. The question is whenever a broker process terminated by the operating system abnormally, or if a broker terminated by itself due to some issue, then only the code will be generated. If we shut down the broker in a healthier manner, then there is no question of code ups. Fine.
Yeah, so that is always stored in this path, the one which says var
MQSI. Yes, that's right.
Is that standard?
Yes, that's the standard.
Okay, var MQSI.
So this var MQSI file system, I will tell you in the training session during the IIB installation in Linux operating system. We are going to discuss about var MQSI. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now heap dumps, that is related to the memory. Whenever memory issues are happen, broker is running out of memory, then heap dump will be generated. So the one you are seeing on the screen right now, these are the commands of IIB. So, but we are not going to discuss all the commands. We are going to discuss the main commands only. So, where is it? Okay, MQSI create broker, MQSI change properties, MQSI create configurable service, MQSI create execution group, MQSI CVP, MQSI delete broker, MQSI delete execution group, MQSI deploy, MQSI list, MQSI profile, MQSI read bar, MQSI report broker, MQSI report properties, MQSI DB params, MQSI start, MQSI start message flow, MQSI start,